Normally this is saved for Christmas, but it's the most wonderful time of the year. It's Breeders' Cup time. We are busy on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. We're looking forward to the Breeders' Cup Classic. There will be loads more Breeders' Cup content on our membership tier. Go click that link down below and find out so much more. But I don't think that song was used poorly, Tom. I think that was used perfectly.
No, and you didn't give me a heads up you were going to do it, but actually you just made me smile, the fact you started singing that. Because I agree, it is the best time of the year. Love the Breeders' Cup. We're obviously UK based, but US racing is our sweetheart, really, and the Breeders' Cup is the pinnacle of it. So, yeah, I can't wait. 2 fantastic days, 14 Breeders' Cup races. The undercards aren't bad either. Del Mar this weekend, buzzing.
Rank these Breeders' Cup host sites in order of how much you enjoy the meeting there. So you got Del Mar, Santa Anita, Churchill Downs, Keeneland.
Ooh, okay, I'll go for Churchill Downs 1, Del Mar 2, Santa Anita 3, Keeneland 4. And I love Keeneland. Keeneland is actually one of my favourite tracks, but I've just not had much success there. So I think I'm a little bit hurt from the full meet that we've just had. So I'm going to have to put that bottom. But yeah, I do love Del Mar because it gives a great opportunity for closers actually to come through. Santa Anita, I think, is very much pace biased. Del Mar closes on the turf, one of my favourite angles.
Yeah, I would go Santa Anita, Keeneland, Churchill, Del Mar. Del Mar used to be a
Really?
distant last, but I don't mind it anymore. It's better. Keeneland, the last time I think the Breeders' Cup was at Keeneland, I said to my partner Jasmine, I said, pick some horses. I'll put on a little bet for you tonight. She put 7 horses in, 6 of them won.
Crazy. We need to get Jasmine on the podcast. Come on.
Literally, like, it's one of those things like Grand National Day where someone goes, "Oh, give us a tip." It's like, "Oh, I'll back the winner anyway." It's like brilliant. You put in all this work and then you just come up and just smash in 6 winners. It's absolutely flying. But the Breeders' Cup Classic is upon us. Currently, we'll go through the market quickly because Sovereignty is 13 to 8 ahead of the market. Massive friend of the podcast is Sovereignty. We'll talk about him at length. Sierra Leone, the defending champion, is 11 to 2. Fierceness 6 to 1. Forever Young 8 to 1. Mindframe 10s, 12 to 1. Journalism 16 to 1 by Aza. Antiquarian at 20s. Nevada Beach at 25 to 1, I should say. And Contrary Thinking, the pacemaker in here at 150 to 1. Those prices are a mix of the best prices that you'll get around in the UK at the moment. So some of them might be different in some places, but speed is always a big thing on dirt over at Del Mar, in particular in the juvenile races. But Sierra Leone managed to come off the pace to win this race 12 months ago, Tom. However, he's got his best friend in here in the form of Contrary Thinking.
Yeah, the rabbit, as they like to call him in the US. He's going to go out there and make the pace. It seems to be offending people in the US as a pacemaker in a race like this, which I don't really get. Now, I understand every horse should be in there that has a chance to win, and it should be the premium horses in the division. But having a pacemaker is no bad thing. It means a solidly run race. Most of the riders will know that horse is going to go to the front, so they can kind of pitch their race around it. And look, we don't want a dawdle or a tactically run affair that has trouble in running for horses in behind. We want every horse to basically have a chance of winning. And when you have a pacemaker, that increases. So I like the fact that there's a pacemaker in there. It's going to be a great race. Sierra Leone is back to try and retain his crown. I've got a stat about him when we talk about him in detail. But I think this is the greatest renewal of the Breeders' Cup Classic I've seen in terms of depth. Look, I've been watching US racing for, 15, 20 years now. So there will potentially be better races prior to that. But look, you have great 3-year-olds. You have a group of older horses that have been running towards their best, if not their best this season. You have Mindframe, who has the profile of a 3-year-old, but is an older horse. And then you've got a fantastic Japanese challenger as well. So this race has everything. The only thing it doesn't have is a horse like City of Troy from Europe. But to be fair, even if it did, that horse would usually be a no-hoper anyway.
Yeah, as we kind of pointed out, was it last year, City of Troy?
Yep.
That seems like ages ago. But yeah, he did not run his race. But yeah, I agree. We've spent all year building up towards the Classic and to the Breeders' Cup. And we've been going, well, if everyone turns up, this is going to be a heck of a race. Never happens. Never happens that everyone turns up. They've all turned up. Everyone is here that we wanted to be here, including we'll call him the champ because he's the 3-year-old champion in Sovereignty. He's been nearly unbeatable this year. Obviously, he did get beaten in the Florida Derby behind Tappan Street, but Sovereignty's been a massive friend of ours. He's been a massive friend of the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. So at 13 to 8, Tom, surely this is a lock to be at least one of our picks.
Maybe not. What a beast, though! Like, I want to start with the pros on this horse because he has just been wonderful. We, as everyone knows, if you've been watching the Turf and Touchdowns podcast at any point this year, obviously our horse racing content is now not necessarily on the channel, but earlier in the year we were covering races week by week, and every single time Sovereignty ran, we covered that race. We have long been big fans of this horse. We both liked him for the Kentucky Derby. I liked him as a 2-year-old when he won the Street Sense, and I feel like we're very much towards the top of the fan club for Sovereignty worldwide. Look, I've bet him many times, and every time he seems to deliver. I think he's progressing still at this point of his career, and there are very little reasons to actually take him on. However, there is the big point of the price in here, and as you say, 13-8 is the current price listed at Tuesday 2 p.m., which is when we're recording this. He's 6-5 on the morning line in the US. That's very aggressive from David Aragona. Hats off, by the way, to the Breeders' Cup for putting David Aragona as the morning line maker this year. That is a great decision. But this is an aggressive morning line price. I think he'll take money in the US because of it, more money than he would have anyway. And I just feel like 13-8 in such a deep field, likely to be shorter come the off, is a little bit too skinny for me. Now, as a neutral, I want him to win. He is a fantastic horse. I've literally got pictures of him framed in the house, but I can't bet him as my main bet at that price. If he was to win, it'll be no surprise.
I'm exactly the same. He's the horse that I want to win most in the race, and I will be cheering him on just from a fan base point of view. He's done us so many good turns this season, but 13-8, he's very, very short his Sovereignty. The thing that I've liked about him this season, though, Tom, he was pigeonholed early on in his career. He's one-dimensional. He needs you to go hard. He needs a pace to run at. It's not the case. He's got, I'm not going to say loads of early speed, but he's got enough speed early on to keep with front runners. That's such a big asset of his game now.
Yeah, it really is. The Jim Dandy and the Travers victories, he was both closer to the speed in those races, rather than what we saw in the Kentucky Derby and the Florida Derby earlier in his career. Even the Street Sense, actually, as a 2-year-old, he was last and came through with that big late run around the outside at Churchill. So, yes, he's developed into this horse that has some tactical pace. That was the only thing missing from him, and now nothing is missing. So, look, I would love him to win. As we've both said, we love this horse. He is just a skinny price. If you wanted to have a saver on him, be my guest. I will probably have a saver myself, but I can't have him as my main selection just because the value isn't there, and value equals long-term profit.
Let's just say on the day he drifts, what price do you click the button at?
Yeah, look, I don't think he will, so this is probably irrelevant, but anything near 2-1, I'd probably have a decent-sized play, a play that wouldn't be described as a saver, yeah.
That's my mark. I wouldn't go below 2-1, but if he hit twos, yeah, I think I probably would play Sovereignty because that would be too big of a price. However, he's the main 3-year-old in this race. Let's go into the first of the older horses because Sierra Leone is the defending champion. He was brilliant in this race 12 months ago in a race that, honestly, I didn't give him much of a chance in. I don't think you did either. And he managed to sort things out. He came back with a dismal performance in the New Orleans Classic. He's been better since then, but is this going to be a case of Sierra Leone turns up for one big dance this year and puts in a huge performance?
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, he's been a great horse. He's amassed over $7 million in prize money and obviously won this race last year, which had a big way of going towards that 7 mil, big prize pot in the Breeders' Cup Classic, of course. He gets his pace in here, largely due to contrary thinking, but there are other speed horses in this race. The likes of Fierceness will probably go forward from 1. Nevada Beach will be up there. Forever Young will be up there. Mindframe maybe. Antiquarian as well. So there are horses to push the pace along for him, which is what he needs. Without speed, he wouldn't win this contest. The question is he still as good this year? I'm not 100% sure. Now, his Whitney win would suggest he is, but the horse who finished second that day was Highland Falls, so it wasn't exactly the best Grade 1. Obviously, he was really unlucky last time in the Stephen Foster because he was hampered at the start due to the interference with Mindframe et al. He got a bad bump and probably was the best horse in that race. The thing is, I just don't believe in him enough to bet him in a classic of this quality. He needs everything to go right. Quite a lot of it looks like it's going to, but the only horse to ever win back-to-back classics is Tisnow. Is Sierra Leone as good as Tisnow? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not as if this is a gimme of a race either. It's not a classic that we had 2 or 3 years ago. However, I think even if he doesn't win, even if he doesn't place, he might play a massive factor into this contest just because you've got the pace set up. Let's just say Sovereignty, they don't want to go forward with him, which I don't necessarily think they will because of the pace setup. Suddenly, you've got Sierra Leone and Sovereignty that are kind of potentially racing together. If Sierra Leone's on the outside of Sovereignty, Junior Alvarado is going to have to find a way out. Flavion Pratt's not going to let Sovereignty out and get a run. Or, on the flip side, they both get racing a little bit too soon and start chasing each other. It's going to have to be Flavion Pratt and Junior Alvarado at their very, very best on these two.
Yeah, it's a fascinating subplot, isn't it? With closers coming into a race of this nature, they need a clear run. They need to time their run at the perfect spot. And both of these two jockeys have been phenomenal at doing it on these horses. So, yeah, I'm really fascinated to see what happens in the early part of the race, how far back Sierra Leone gets. I think Sovereignty may be ahead of him, but it depends how they decide to ride him. These are two great horses. I think Sovereignty is the better of the pair. I think he's got a much higher chance of winning this race out of the pair. But if Sierra Leone was to win this and become the second horse to win back-to-back classics, he would be going out on a high because this is his last race. He will be retired to stud. Imagine the amount of brood mares that are going to be seeing him next year.
Absolutely. Then it would be American Pharaoh, Justify, and Sierra Leone that the Coolmore team have got, which would be wild in regards to stallions. We talk about one-dimensional. Let's talk about Fierceness, because he has been one-dimensional for his whole career. And then suddenly last time around in the Pacific Classic, things go horribly wrong because of his own fault. I must say that. It wasn't anyone else's fault because of just what he did down at the start. And then he puts in, wouldn't say a career best, but I wouldn't say it's far from a career best.
I agree with that. Yep. I would actually say it probably was a career best, in my opinion, just because of the things that went wrong. Obviously, I think he's run better speed figures earlier in his career, but that was when he was in the ideal spot throughout the race and just produced his A1 performance. He had to adapt, which we'd never seen from Fierceness before. And he did. And he managed to win that race and beat journalism. I have three negatives about this horse. Firstly, was journalism a bit over the top at that point after a handful of runs in top level 3-year-old races? We'll talk more about him in a second, but I don't think that was the best performance that journalism could have produced. And therefore, for all that Fierceness did smash the remainder, not quite sure what he beat in the race. Secondly, he was pretty terrible in the Met Mile and the Whitney, I thought. I don't know if they were just races where things didn't go right for him or if he just prefers Del Mar or Santa Anita or what, but I don't know. He's hard to trust. And thirdly, Gate 1, that is a big negative for me. I don't love it at all.
I I don't mind Gate 1. You look at who's drawn in and around him. You've got Baeza just in 2. He's not going to try and go forward. Nevada Beach probably will, but I think Fierceness will be ridden harder from the get-go. I think if you're John Velasquez, you jump out, get onto the rail, and you wait for contrary thinking to come across you and give you the lead. Then you switch one off, you try and switch into the 2-path. You maybe sit second, you maybe sit third. In an ideal world, by the time the first bend is coming, or is coming towards the runners, that is exactly where you should be regards to Fierceness. Now, I'm going to sort of counter a few of your points because I oddly like Fierceness a lot more than I thought I would in this contest, which is something I never love doing. But stall one, I've already said, I don't mind a great deal. Do you know who loves California, Tom?
Who?
Fierceness. He loves running in California. He's ran there 3 times in his life. First time he ran in California was in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Put in a huge effort, albeit on a pace-dominating track, and he posted a speed figure of 105, which for a 2-year-old, that's a huge, huge figure. Didn't run in California till going back to Del Mar in the Breeders' Cup Classic of last year. Finished second, did best of the horses close to the pace, was run down by Sierra Leone, who got, in the end, what was an ideal trip. And then he came back in the Pacific Classic and he managed to absolutely rout them, which I agree with you with journalism. I've been colder on him for a little while now than a few others, and I don't really like his chances in here. But I think Fierceness and California, I think they're a match made in heaven. And look, sometimes it goes wrong on the East Coast for him.
Yeah, potentially. Look, I don't like him anywhere near as much as you do. I will say, if that scenario pans out where he breaks well, contrary thinking comes across, he then moves to one off the rail, gets a clear run, then his chance obviously massively increases. I have no qualms about that. That would be the ideal trip. I just don't know how likely that is to happen. And last time in the Pacific Classic, we did see him get keen in behind horses. And if he was to be boxed, because the likelihood is contrary thinking will come across to the rail and lead. If he's to be boxed in, I just don't know if he's going to settle. It's just another question mark for me. But look, if Fierceness A1 turns up, then he's going to be a player in here.
Exactly. And for the race, I think everyone hopes that Fierceness A1 turns up. Much like we hope the same for Forever Young, who was one place behind Fierceness in the Classic last year. He has been trained to the second for this race. Look, 2 starts ago, we saw him at Maidan running in the Dubai World Cup. He finished third in that. He's had one prep over in Japan, which he managed to win. And this is a horse that sort of throughout the last year or so, I think literally since the Classic of last year, you've been fairly vocal about.
Yeah, exactly. I actually bet him and tipped him for this race in February, February the 12th, I think, to be precise. Yeah, look, he's been primed for this race. I like it when that happens, especially with Japanese horses. I feel like they always peak when they're primed. Sometimes they're not, and they turn up in these races, Royal Ascot or, I don't know, in France or whatever, and they don't produce their best. But I feel like Forever Young is sitting on a huge performance. And it's not just that I like a Japanese prep and I was in Saudi when I saw him win that Saudi Cup, where he was phenomenal to back run Romantic Warrior. But I thought actually he was the best horse in the 2024 Kentucky Derby. He finished third in a photograph, first, second, and third, all in there. Sierra Leone in second. Thought he was the best horse. He took a few bumps, especially early in the race and from Sierra Leone in the straight, and he was unlucky not to win. And then last year in this race, I actually bet him again. I had two bets in the race. But he was drawn post one, and the draw just killed him, basically. It was game over from the start. Ryusi Sakai rode him hard from the gates, which he had to do to hold position, but he was just sat on too hard a pace up top, and he was pinned in against the fence. It just wasn't ideal for him. He ended up running third. I thought he did great considering the trip he got and the fact he was close to the speed. And yes, Fierceness was also on the speed, and he ran second and beat him fair and square. I think actually Forever Young ran a career best that day, but I think with a better draw, still five, he's a major player here. And too many people are reading into the Dubai World Cup form, the fact he finished third. He was over the top because it was a quick turnaround after the Saudi Cup where he ran lights out. That wasn't Forever Young. Don't worry about that. The price is very fair at 8-1, and I'm interested in him.
Yeah, and also, how many times do we tell you, form from the likes of Dubai?
Yeah,
Just get rid of it. It does
yeah.
not matter. It does not matter in any way, shape, or form, regards to travelling elsewhere. There will be chaos in the background. There's a delivery at the door, so there's a run. We're getting ready for work, myself and Tom. But I agree with Forever Young. Look, he's a horse that I do think will be peaking regards to this sort of point. I think everything will be perfect regards to Forever Young. It's just whether he's good enough to go and get his big one. I think he is at some point. Whether it's this one, who knows? Let's talk about Mindframe, because he's the horse that he still feels unexposed. I know
Mhm.
Irad fell off last time around, and I do think it was that he fell off. It was relatively soft and one that I think he would have hoped better from. But he was getting there, and he was getting things right at that point in his career. So if he can continue that, then he's got a huge chance.
I actually think he's got really solid claims in this race, but he's being overlooked. Not quite sure why. There is a chance I'll have a little bit on him as well, depending on the price. But if you give me 12, 14 to 1 about Mindframe, that's just ridiculous, isn't it? Because this horse has so much upside. He represents leading connections. He had no chance last time. I slightly disagree. I do think Irad was basically just shoved off the horse. Terrible riding from Kendrick Carmouche. But look, I put a line straight through that. You go back to his prior form, and he looked like he was up and coming. I actually personally, and this could be controversial, I think he's more talented than Fierceness. And if Fierceness is half the price or whatever he is, then maybe Mindframe is the value.
I think he's more talented than Fierceness in his own way. He's always been a horse that I've loved. And look, in his early years, I knocked him a little bit. I've said to you many times, I'd love to see them put a set of blinkers on him. I think it was just greenness, and he's better now than he was back then. But if he's on a going day, he's absolutely got a huge chance. For what it's worth, I thought he'd have won the Jockey Club Gold Cup last time around. That was my opinion before the race, and there's no reason to change it off the back of it. I mean, goodness me, if you're not beating Antiquarian, High Sierra Leone, then you're struggling a little bit going forward, especially into a classic. But again, this could be Mindframe's time to shine. The Rapoli stable have got a real strong handle in this race with him and Fierceness. I'll be honest, moving on to the next runner, Journalism. I know he's got his fans out there. I know he's got his backers. I've never been a huge fan of Journalism. After the Kentucky Derby, I gave him all the respect in the world because he ran lights out. He ran a huge race in that contest. But then, I don't know, the Preakness was a little bit disappointing. He obviously suffered the interference. He was still a little bit laboured throughout, I thought. Regards to Belmont, in the Belmont, the second last time around, or in that day, was okay. I'm just not sure that he's up to this sort of level now.
Yeah, look, he's had a brilliant season. He's won the Santa Anita Derby, he's won the Preakness, he's won the Haskell, he's placed in the Kentucky Derby, placed in the Belmont, placed in the Pacific Classic. I mean, what a phenomenal year from journalism. However, the sky is not the ceiling for him anymore. It was at the start of the campaign and after the first leg of the Triple Crown. But now it feels like he's plateauing a touch. He's not as good as Sovereignty, so it's very hard to bet him in this race. He also proved last time that he's probably not as good as Fierceness. And for those reasons, I can't have him. Now, you could say last time he didn't produce his best, which I agree with, but he was firmly put in his place by a horse that didn't get an ideal trip. For that reason, I can't have him at all. Like, he's not in my top three here. I don't think he'll place. The positive for me is that Jose Ortiz gets on board. I like the jockey switch, and it's nothing against Umbi Rispoli, to be honest. It's more that Jose Ortiz has just been one of the better riders in the last 12 months. I think he'll probably run fifth or sixth in here. If he runs in top three, then fair play, because he turns up every single time he's been asked to this campaign.
Yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from with that. He's the horse in the race that if you are going to give me, I mean, let's say if you're going to give me Mindframe at 4-6 in a match bet, I'll
Oh,
take
yeah.
that 4-6 every single day of the week. If you're going to give me Baeza at 11-10 in a match bet, I'd take Baeza honestly over journalism. I'm just not convinced about journalism at all in this spot. I hope I'm proved wrong, because he is the most beautiful horse to look at. If you could design a racehorse, you would design journalism, but I don't think he's been getting stronger as the season's gone on, whereas almost every single one of these are. So that's the main lot. Obviously, Baeza 16-1, Antiquarian 20s, Nevada Beach 25s, Contrary Thinking 150s. Any of those four worthy of a mention for you?
I'll give a really brief word to all of them. Contrary Thinking will probably finish last. He is in here as a pacemaker. It's not a controversial thing to say that. He will make the pace at a hard gallop early and then fade to probably finish last. Antiquarian is a very talented horse. I actually think he'll be preferred over some of these if the distance was even further. If we're talking 1.5 miles, he's a horse that stays all day. He just probably lacks the gears to win a race of this nature, but he is drawn outside, which will be good for connections. Baeza, for me, is just a horse I can't have. He's very much like journalism, a strong staying type, but just not as good as Sovereignty. And for that reason, I don't really see the upside to him. I don't think he'll place. And finally, Nevada Beach. I mean, he's an interesting runner, isn't he? Because Bob Baffert wouldn't just lob an unexposed horse like him into a classic. But then you're thinking, well, does Bob Baffert just want a runner in the classic? He beat a good one last time in Full Serrano, who has a great chance in the dirt mile. The thing is, that form isn't as good as what is required to win this race. So he's a big price for a reason. Maybe he'll shock. I don't think he will.
Yeah, at 25s, I couldn't put anyone off having their 50p each way on, or Win Place Show, whatever, wherever you're listening from, on Nevada Beach. Maybe he's just more next year, though, rather than this year. However, it was a very good tee up last time around to get towards the Breeders' Cup Classic. So that's the whole field gone through regards to the Classic. I said at the top of the show, Tom, surely one of us is going to go for Sovereignty. They will be wrong. We're not going to go for Sovereignty. 13-8, I think he's too short. Where are you looking?
Yeah, I completely agree. I respect him. Every part of me respects him. If he was to win, I'll be cheering. And it won't necessarily be because I'll be making any money from it. Literally, I'll have a saver on him if he is around 13-8, 6-4. And that'll be it. But I have to go elsewhere for my main bet, and it's Forever Young, the Japanese challenger. Love the post for him in 5. I think he has the tactical speed to get up there and sit in a prominent spot, maybe third or fourth early. He ran a great third in the race last year. He has been primed for this. His Saudi Cup performance, when I was there in Riyadh, blew my socks off. I love that performance. I love the heart he showed. I love the talent he showed to run down Romantic Warrior. We know he can go on US dirt as well. I'm taking Forever Young. I'm going to play him each way. I've already actually bet him back in February, but I'm going to go in again at a slightly shorter price of 8-1 each way, and hopefully he can grab a place at the very least.
I think each way is a fair shout with Forever Young. I would have him in my top 3, but
Yeah.
I don't have him turning the tables with Fierceness. I think, like I say, coming to California in a hot climate is a big thing for Fierceness. And I hate that I'm putting him up for a Breeders' Cup Classic. I despise it. But I do think he's going to run a big race in this. Look, if as you said earlier on, if A1 Fierceness turns up in here, I think it's going to take a lot. He's going to take a lot of beating. He was very good here at Del Mar last time around when beating journalism, but he beat him in all facets of that race. And you look at how he's been doing it recently as well. He's a horse that he's no longer the one dimension. Well, he doesn't look the one-dimensional sort that has to be on the lead or has to be near the pace. Sure, it helps, but he got himself out of trouble last time around. I love seeing that from Fierceness. I think he's got a big chance in this. And at 6-1, because Sovereignty's taken so much out of the market, I think it leaves quite a few of these horses at a bit of value if you do like someone else. So, Fierceness for me. I'm not going to say that again, though.
Yeah, I'm tempted to boo you there. I don't like him at all in this spot. But look, I will say one thing about you and Fierceness. Every time we've covered Fierceness this year, you seem to get him right and I seem to get him wrong. So maybe you're right again here. I just don't like him from that post. But it's a great race, isn't it? And it's good that we have opinions other than just playing the favourite for all that we love him.
This is famous last words. I don't think I've ever got Fierceness wrong. And this is positive or negative.
Someone clip that up. We've got to clip that up. Editor Joe, clip that up.
We'll see. It's a first time for everything, and it will probably be this one. But that is a look at the Breeders' Cup Classic. We'll have so much more content on our membership tier. The link is down below. Regards to the Breeders' Cup, we've got Thursday Night Football preview on the channel right now, albeit that's probably been and gone. We are still looking forward to the Sunday slate, though. That video will be on the channel this week. Breeders' Cup Classic in the books. Me and Tom are off to actual real work now to go and talk more Breeders' Cup. So, Tom, say goodbye to the people.
Bye-bye.